mean, Max, a month ago, Frank and I were on this show talking about how, hey, maybe this is a Red Wings team that is going to be a threat to win a playoff round, never mind get into the playoffs. And since then, it hasn't exactly gone all that well. I know a lot of people have pointed to Dylan Larkin being out of the lineup, but surely there's more to this slide than just missing Larkin, right?
Yes, I mean, it is certainly a big part of it, right? Like if you look at the way that they're constructed, they become much easier to match up against, especially on the road when you don't have Dylan Larkin. It allows other teams to kind of take away your money makers, your Patrick Kane, your Alex DeBrincat when you don't have a guy like Dylan Larkin driving that. But as you say, that alone, no one player should be worth this big a swing. And it's been a pretty steep one. So a lot of things going wrong for them. I think everybody all year was kind of monitoring those underlying numbers that told you, hey, maybe the way that they're giving up chances versus creating them isn't sustainable. I think you are seeing some of that right now. They're probably not getting bailed out by goaltending in quite the same way they were. Alex Lyon in January was unbelievable. And obviously I think the goaltending's come back to being more average, down to earth lately. So I think that's part of it, but I think it's a bunch of different things. There's been a flu bug going around, but I think lately, honestly, the biggest thing, just the mental fragileness that comes with a losing streak and how hard it is to respond when any little thing goes wrong. I think that's the thing you see biting him the most right now.
Well, I think with a guy like Alex Lyon, you might get little stretches. We've seen that, but we've seen him be a career backup for a reason. So I think the law of averages would be in place there. At Max, look, I'm looking at their stats, right? And I'm wondering, what's going on. I'm trying to watch their special teams. I'm looking at them in the neutral zone. A number that has stuck out to me, and I don't live and die by plus minus, right? But when I look at their scoring leaders in Detroit, and I see 13 of their top scoring leaders out of 15 are minuses. And like, we're talking Lucas Raymond minus 20. We're talking Shane Gostisbehere minus almost 20, right? Or more. Is 5-on-5 what has sunk this team this season in general? Because clearly they're getting, all of their top players are playing high risk, high reward hockey. And it's really not working out for them as the game is tightening up here late in the season.
I think it's a big part of it. And I think that there was a stretch there where they beat Washington like 8-3, right? And that's a win that the fans are pumped about. But if you talk to, Steve Yzerman, I think after the trade deadline, I've talked to some of the players about it. Like, I don't know that they were actually playing very good hockey in that game. They had a lot go their way. They're doing a lot of, track meet, east to west, kind of scoring that is really easy to take away. And when that gets taken away, what happens, right? Because if you're still giving that stuff up, it goes the other way. I think that's a little bit of what happened is maybe they fell in love with kind of the playmaking, the ability to put up these big numbers on the scoreboard. Their best game that they have played by far was in this stretch was on Saturday. They held Buffalo to 2 shots in the first 14 minutes of the third period when they came into it with a lead. That's the kind of hockey that they know that they need to be playing. They're just having a really hard time seeming to get to that game. I think some of it's the roster makeup. It's a lot of small skill wingers. I don't know if they have those guys that kind of get you through the mud quite as much as they need. Their best line by far lately has been their one line that really does that. Christian Fischer, Michael Rasmussen, and Andrew Kopp. Some of it's a roster issue for sure.
What's the temperature of the fan base like right now? Obviously, they didn't do a ton or anything at the trade deadline. Is there some angst amongst the fans towards how they handled the deadline, or is it maybe still a little bit like, one eye on the future? I see Simon Edvinsson's coming up from Grand Rapids, or is there maybe a little bit of anger?
There is anger. I don't know how much of it's focused at the deadline specifically, but there's a lot of anger. The temperature of the fan base is a lot higher than the temperature out my window. I'll tell you that. The way they handled the deadline, you can look at it one of two ways. They had Dylan Larkin out. Did you need to go try to replace him, or were you not going to be able to replace Dylan Larkin no matter what? And anything you did would have been doubling down on something like this, even though it was probably inevitable. I think you can go either way on that. I tend to kind of lean more toward the latter. Could you have gone out and gotten Nick Dowd, for example, is a guy in Washington that I think would have made a lot of sense for them. But does that really change what you're lacking at the top of your lineup with no Dylan Larkin? It's a fair question. The fan base is mad, though, because I think it's just taken so long. They've been out of the playoffs 7 years. This will be year number 8 if they can't get in. That's a long time to ask a fan base to be patient. I think they've given more time in Detroit than they might have otherwise because of Steve Yzerman being the general manager, and that's a guy who's built up a lot of credibility in this market for very good and obvious reasons. But the frustration has certainly set in. There's no doubt.
Max Bultman from The Athletic. Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.